This lesson is an introduction to Blend's storyboard animation feature. In this lesson, you learn the basics of working with multiple storyboards, learn how to create a new storyboard animation, and also learn how to auto-reverse and repeat your animations. Perhaps the most important aspect to understand about Blend animation is that it is not frame-based. Animation in Expression Blend is created by setting keyframes along a timeline. However, there is no master timeline in Blend as there is in Flash. To access a timeline, you need to create or open a storyboard. With a storyboard open, you can begin to set or modify keyframes on the timeline. Now, to understand this better, let's take a look at the storyboards in this project. In the Objects and Timeline panel, you can see that there's currently no storyboard open. To open one, I can click on this menu here, and we can see the storyboard picker. Now, we can have multiple storyboards in Blend, which is why we have our picker. Let's choose the Venice Move Right storyboard. As soon as we select that, we're inside our storyboard, and we can actually see by this red border that the timeline recording is on by default. Let's choose Window Workspace Animation. The reason we want to choose this is to put that timeline at the very bottom of the screen, and this is going to allow us to see that timeline easier. In order to see the behavior of this timeline, I'll press the play button. We can see this is a very simple animation. Here we have this image thumbnail that starts off on the left-hand side of the screen and moves to the right. Let's play that again and take a look. So over 2 seconds of time, we have this element Venice Beach, which is simply a button that's moving from left to right. Now let's click on this menu again and choose Venice Move Left. So this is the second storyboard. We'll press play. And we'll see that this storyboard, the image moves to the left. The last storyboard is this one, Venice Move Up. So this button starts in the same location. If we press play, we'll see it go up and off the screen. Now, in order to close a storyboard, we can click the Close Storyboard icon. Let's scroll down a bit here, and we can see that there are 4 buttons, up, left, right, and down. Now, I've already set up these 4 buttons so that they trigger each storyboard. So the up will trigger the Venice Up, left, right, and so forth. So let's take a look at this in our application by choosing Project, Run Project. So none of these animations will trigger until I press the button. So first I'll click the right button, and we can see that this triggers it. Notice that at the very end of the animation it stays in its final position. So now I can press left. Now I'm going to interrupt this animation and click left and right continuously. What you're seeing here is an example of Blend's handoff animation. You saw the animations earlier in Blend. What's important to realize is that we do not have to finish either of these applications before we start another one. In other words, Blend automatically hands off the animation when it's interrupted. Again, we could see this by pressing left and then up. And when I press up, my button disappears, and unfortunately, there's no way to get it down. So this is something that we'll be doing shortly. Go ahead and close the browser now. And now let's take a look at some of the things that we can do to an individual storyboard. So I'm going to click on that storyboard menu again and choose the Venice Move Right storyboard. I'm going to scroll up a little bit here so we can see the button. Now what you should do is click on your storyboard. Once you click on a storyboard, you have access to a few controls. Over in the Properties panel, we can see Auto Reverse and Repeat Behavior. So let's click on Auto Reverse first, and then press play. With Auto Reverse selected, you can see that when the playhead hits this keyframe, it will automatically reverse and go back to 0. Let's play that one more time. Now I'm going to uncheck Auto Reverse, and let's look at Repeat Behavior. First, we can see the default value is 1. If I click on the menu and choose 2, let's take a look at this now in our project. Choose Project, Run Project, and now press the right button. So what you saw there was simply the animation repeating twice. When the button hit the end keyframe, it simply started again. Let's close the browser, and let's turn that back to 1 time. Now you'll go ahead and create a new storyboard. In order to create a new storyboard, we click on the New Storyboard icon, and let's call this Venice Move Down. Click OK. So I'm going to expand that bottom timeline just a little bit so we can see it better. At any given point, you can always zoom out here by clicking the zoom button and changing it to perhaps 60%. So now you're within a new storyboard and we have an empty timeline here. You can really think of the timeline as a structure for the animation sequence in your application. So the simplest way to create this animation is to click and drag your yellow playhead to 2 seconds. In the Objects and Timeline panel, you can click on the Venice Beach button, and then you can click and drag it down so it hits that I at the very top of the word there. As soon as you move that object, you can see your keyframe has been added here at 2 seconds. So what you did here was animate the property change of that Y value from 0 to 2 seconds. And if we press play, we can see it move down here. Now to spice up your animations a little bit, you can add what's called easing. Easing allows you to change the speed of your animations. In order to see this in action, let's click on our keyframe at 2 seconds. Once you click on your keyframe, look within the Properties panel. So here we can see the easing property, and currently there is no easing set whatsoever. So let's click on this menu. Now if you're familiar with easing from other applications, you can always click on the key spline to create your own easing. However, we're going to use one of the blend presets. And the one we're going to use here is Bounce. And specifically, we're going to use the Bounce Out preset. Go ahead and click on that, and you can see some of the properties here. By default, it's going to use 3 bounces and have a bounciness of 2. In order to see what this looks like, let's go into our timeline and press play. So the nice thing about the easing effects is that the start and ending keyframe are always the same. It's simply what happens in between that's changed. Now let's close our storyboard by clicking the Close Storyboard button. And what we'll quickly do here is add a behavior to the down button in order to control that animation. So to add this behavior, click on the Assets panel, locate the Control Storyboard action, and drag and drop that onto the down button. Once you've dragged and dropped that onto the button, look into the Properties panel. Here you'll see this section, Common Properties. Play should automatically be selected. All you need to do is set the storyboard. So let's click on this menu and choose Venice Move Down, which is the one that you just created. Now let's look at this all together by choosing Project, Run Project. Go ahead now and press the Up button, and at any point press the Down button. In this lesson, you learned the basics of working with multiple storyboards, you learned how to create a new storyboard animation, and you learned how to ease, auto-reverse, and repeat your animations.